I'm glad to be here, and thank you, Brand Equity. Thank you, our sponsors, Talkai, and to all the audience who's given us next 40 minutes. It's a pleasure to have this panel where we have one of the most innovative panelists. If you see, we have people from e-commerce, we have people from consumer durables, we have people from education. If you notice that, these are the categories which have really kind of helped us a lot during the COVID period, to make our life easier, to make our life better. I'm super excited about this panel is because if you look at Vakul, Anurita, Rahul, and Shreyansh, all of them have had a very strong practical knowledge about the DMP and CDP, and this is where we exactly thought that while I introduce our topic and what we want to kind of talk about, we'll bring up a poll to you first to really understand what's your interest and understanding of DMP versus CDP. Can I request a poll to be shown to the audience?
So the quick poll question is, do you use DMP or CDP? And you have to select the correct one option, that's DMP, CDP, or none.
Yes, and this poll is not biased because none of our panelists, and I'm going to vote in it. Although the good thing is, like I said, all the panelists have been using DMP or CDP. So this conversation is going to be really practical and not something that we talk futuristic or we talk in terms of what should or could have happened in life, in our digital marketing. So we have about a minute to complete this poll. Audience, we have the poll results. Interestingly, there's a more skew towards DMP because it's been there for a while, but at the same time, good to see that CDP is catching up. And all the more interesting is that we have 65% of the audience who's not used it, and they probably, really interested in knowing about it. So with this, I want to present at a high level, what's our topic going to be over the next 30 minutes. So with Vakul, who leads the retention and revenue for Grofers, I'm going to talk about DMP and CDP, okay? With Anurita as a next topic, we will talk about demystifying DMP, which is essentially what are the values and the benefits that you can extract out of DMP. And subsequently, with Rahul, has a solid agency's background and who kind of loves to play with all the tech and tools. We would look at more performance-centric play of DMP and CDP, which is essentially about converging all the media channels and screens to deliver a unified and consistent user experience. Okay. Towards the end, I'm saving the best for the last. We have Shreyansh from Flipkart, and Shreyansh, with you, we would like to kind of go deeper into the programmatic aspect, which is what people would be really keen to hear, and also like to hear from you, how DMP can deliver success at a scale. So with this, I want to jump on to the first topic, realizing that we have a 65% audience, and so let's briefly talk about DMP and CDP, and why we're bringing it up is it's all the more important because there are a lot of rumors and half-baked knowledge and information which comes in the market that hey, the cookies are dying, cookies gonna go away, DMP will die, or DMP will be replaced by CDP. And not only that, a lot of times the customers are confused between what should they be really looking at. So with that as a background in my mind, I want to really differentiate how we look at the DMP and CDP. And probably there is an option for both of them to coexist depending upon what your organization's goals and objectives are. So looking at the DMP first, DMP primarily focuses on the acquisition side, So it's really about bringing more efficiency to your media efforts, bringing more efficiency to your personalization and audience and consumer analytics, and creating a segment of users which are relevant to your business and communicating with them in a more personalized with a more personalized creative. DMPs makes use of first-party data, which is taken from your website, apps, CRMs. Okay, there are pipes built into the DMP, which wherein you can collaborate and get second-party data, and there are data marketplaces which comes loaded. Some of the DMP comes loaded with the third-party data marketplace. The key differential between a DMP and CDP to know is that DMP works in a completely anonymized fashion. Even if you load a personally identified information into the DMP from a CRM, it will be converted into PII, anonymous information. So the primary units that you work with in DMP are cookies and mails. If you see the graphics here, we're collecting the information within the data management platform. There are analysis, segmentations which are done, and the activations which are done on the websites, apps, on for personalization, or on the programmatic space, Whereas the CDP is completely on the other side of the spectrum, where we have a lead or a customer that we want to kind of work with, because the primary identifier is the email ID or a registration, or phone number. Without that, you really can't work on CDP. The data sources in CDP are somewhat similar, but little more. So it's the web, apps, analytics, CRM. It adds up a layer of another, marketing automation, which includes your email, SMS execution. And if you see, CDP has all the information from your email, phone numbers, credentials, and from CRM, it takes up the past historical data, and is able to kind of bring the analytics basis what a customer interaction has been with your websites, your communication, your applications, apps, so far. Basis that it allows you to make segments, predictive segments in terms of who would you like to sell, what, and who is at a risk of probably churn. The fundamental difference is like two, what I said. One is that the DMPs are on an anonymized ID basis. CDPs are on a PII basis. CDP works mostly on the first party data. So while it gives a good analytics basis of past behavior, okay, and we have to take that as a indicator of what is going to be the future likelihood. Somewhere both these platforms are evolving and trying to kind of, catch up with each other. So for example, in some of the CDPs, the third party data which are trying to come. The DMP is also, because if the cookies are going down, they're moving towards more persistent identifier, which could be, using an ID graph. They can leverage cookies, mobile ad IDs, or registration data. So we don't know at this stage who's going to be kind of the survivor, but definitely what's clear is that at this point of time both the platforms will coexist and together give more teeth and ability to marketeers to drive more ROI. With that as a background, I like to call up Vakul. Vakul's been leading the customer retention and charter of loyalty and trying to extract more revenue, within the grocery, highly competitive grocery space. Okay. Let's hear from Vakul. How's been your experience using CDP? What you've been able to get out of it, and what do you think could have, really added more value to your efforts. If there was a DMP, if there was an additional layer of third-party data, if you were kind of had any information about what those people are really doing outside of your website. Are they really a movie shopper? Are they a coffee drinker? Or are they kind of you get to kind of understand a lot more about their lifestyle and then sort of make more packages and uh, solutions which kind of attract to them. Over to you, Vakul.
Thank you, Sumit. Thanks everyone for having us. It's lovely to be part of such a panel, right? And just to make sure what CDP is, it sounds very technical, but the full form is fairly simpler, right? It's customer data platform, right? And what Sumit has already explained that it's a combination of first-party data that you have across your platforms, be it your website, your app, or your CRM tools, right? The way it helps us as a business is to have a single platform wherein all that data resides, right? And it becomes very easy to integrate or disintegrate any new marketing platform that you would want to work with as a part of your marketing stack. Right? It's a on and off switch wherein you can just pass on all your events. And when I say events, what exactly does it mean? For example, if you come on Grofers or Flipkart, right, you go to a particular product, you add that particular product to your cart, or you buy something else. And all that information goes back dynamically and is stored in a CDP. And then CDP can pass on that information to any other marketing platform that you're using. Right? So that is the use case of a CDP. The way it can help us is to have a single view of your users. You can create dynamic cohorts on the fly, and hence this helps in your retention strategy, right? To retain users in a much better way. How best you can use a DMP, which is again a data management platform along with a CDP, is because CDP is restricted to only events or data that you see on your platform. You don't know how the person behaves outside your ecosystem, right? What are their interests? What are they in market to buy, right? What is their household income like? Can we create a persona for that particular user, right? So if you combine your CDP with a DMP, you can create more efficient strategies around your engagement campaigns as well. This is apart from primary benefit what a DMP would have, right? Which is again on the prospecting side of things or acquisition side of things, wherein you would want to make relevant audiences to target and acquire users for your business. Right? But yeah, a DMP and a CDP combination will help you define even better engagement strategies in-house.
Thank you, Vakul. I think this is quite interesting to hear that even within the customer retention and upsell and cross-sell space, which is so far marked for a CDP, we see a good place because the analytics and the segmentation, which is the core of execution through any channel, becomes much more sharper, and probably it becomes much more relevant in terms of how we really do the packaging, the offering, or something similar to the market basket modeling, probably, which is done in the retail space. Thank you so much, Vakul. And with this, I would like to invite Anurita. Anurita has a fairly rich experience across FMCG brand. She leads the oral health care category at GSK. Anurita, here we'd like to debunk or myth, remove the myth around DMP that it's only probably for EdTech. Although Vakul has spoken about a little bit on the MarTech or customer engagement and retention side, we would like to hear from your experience at GSK. How do you see DMP particularly, or both supporting you in your business?
Thank you, Sumit, and it's a great opportunity for me to be a part of this platform and be able to share my views. It's a very interesting topic as well. So while of course it's great to hear the experts from Flipkart, talking about it and other players, but from a purely consumer and FMCG perspective, it's more about the application of how we are not just engaging with consumers and also our partners, which in our case are experts like dentists. And I'll briefly touch upon both aspects. The first and the foremost is the programmatic part of it, which is how are we collecting data when people are spending time on our websites or other ways in which we are connecting with them on social platforms and others. Then what is the content that they're engaging with? How much time are they spending on it? More importantly, where are we getting this traffic from? And we are able to, from an analytics perspective and a DMP perspective, collate it all, create cohorts which are either disparate or come together at certain commonalities level and target them programmatically. We're able to do it real time. We're able to see how the messaging is working. We are able to see which messaging is more effective. That's one part of it. Second, and the most important and the relevant part of it, or the rather the interesting part of it is, and I can talk about what we're doing with Sensodyne, which is, for example, all of us are familiar with the fact that we always promote Sensodyne with dentists who are actively talking about the condition, they educate people about the condition and about it. But we took this time during COVID and we figured that, okay, what is the inciting and the analytics data really throwing to us? What are the trends that we are watching? What are the big things that people are really, really worried about? More importantly, what are they doing at home? And with us, because we are dealing with a condition like tooth sensitivity, food is a very important part of our life. So the trigger foods, whether it is cold food or hot food or sour food, but the point is that people sitting at home today are spending a lot of time in the kitchen as well, trying out interesting things in the kitchen, taking out their creativity in the kitchen. All of you would have, you would never have perhaps entered the kitchen in your lives, but today you're doing something. You're doing something fun for the family. And this is where we entered with our brand, and we are encouraging people to stay home and try out their favorite recipe and try out their kokum or try out their puchka or try out their rasam. And we are locationally also targeting it because a person sitting in Chennai will talk to a rasam, whereas a person sitting up north is looking for his golgappe. But all of these are food triggers, and that's how we've seamlessly integrated the messaging of Sensodyne, and we're targeting it also location wise. So that's an interesting bucket. The other thing is we're also able to weather target. So sometimes if it's raining in a Bangalore, we are able to then talk about have your hot steaming cup of chai, because you should not let that cup of chai get cold. And with Sensodyne, you can enjoy that chai without worrying about tooth sensitivity. So that's an interesting application of how data is enabling us to talk to the consumer at the right time with the right message and see whether it's working. We also talk to dentists. We reach out to more than 65,000 dentists, but also through their communities on IDA and Facebook platforms, etc. We do webinars, we engage with them. We are also partnering with them right now to see how they can connect with their patients. Patients are sitting today at home. They don't want to go to dentists right now. How, as a brand, can we partner on that? And last but not the least is how, because we talk to people through TV, through print, through digital, how is it that this unified reach of cross media, how is it connecting and sitting together in the consumer's head? Because there is no such thing as an online life and an offline life. We lead a seamless life. So how can we say one thing, the same thing through different touch points, but mean the same thing to the
Thank you, Anurita. I think it's great. I mean, you've really covered almost all aspects of what a DMP can do beyond programmatic, whether it's content personalization or consumer insights that you talked about during the COVID. What you really uncovered is probably far different from what it used to be earlier. You touched upon the B2B as well. And yes, I heard the cross media efficiency because now our medias are not really restricted to online and the mobile and desktops, but we are moving into the connected TV or OTT scenario. With that note, I think I would like to kind of bring up Rahul Karthikeyan. Okay, Rahul has had a fairly long stint with the media agencies, and you can expect a lot from him on these areas because he's the one who probably has learned ABCD from off digital from his early days, starting from IPG and AdMagnet, and then working with one of the WPP agencies. Rahul heads up marketing for Upgrad, and I know all of us would have probably noticed in last 2 3 months that how the LinkedIn profiles people are kind of talking, showcasing what new skills and courses have they acquired. So, Rahul, your category is fairly competitive because there are a lot of edutech, companies which are coming up, and a lot of free courses are also being offered. And how you look at holistic marketing in terms of both acquisition, retention, because some of the sales cycles are longer, so taking the cross screen piece to the next level, and which is the holy grail, where if we can combine not only the screens but the media channels as well, which is your email, SMS, and web push, along with the creatives, display and video creatives, in a very coherent way, that the same person or a segment of the same people, should get the same message across different devices and channels, which really kind of enhances the experience as well as ability to convert. Over to you, Rahul.
Well, yeah, thanks, Sumit. Thanks for the introduction as well, and it's a wonderful opportunity to be here. I think Vakul, Anurita has covered a lot of piece. I mean, they kind of used my work of introducing or kind of explaining anything else apart from what I'm going to speak about. So the biggest challenge that we've seen in the across the industry is this entire data ingestion. And when I looked at the poll as well, I think there was almost 65% of the people said none. So that's a pretty exhaustive, that's a pretty big number. It means a lot of brands are still investing, not knowing how to optimize my spend. Now, when I look at from a consumer lens, the biggest problem statement that any consumer, irrespective of the category, is I'm being bombarded with the same sort of ads in a different manner across all channels. So wherever I go, I see Upgrad, right? So, and that became a big problem statement for us to solve. It's how do we really channelize this? Right? So we've got a lot of other user feedback and said, you know what, you guys are pretty, it's a good brand, but can you just, optimize on the frequency? Now, how do you solve the frequency problem? Right? So this is that, DMPs and CDP, what Vakul covered, became very prominent for us. Right? So how do we really stitch this data? So for us, it became imperative. So the entire consumer journey needs to be seamless across the board, which means your website, your web and app journey needs to be integrated into one common functionality so that your events becomes much more uniform in nature. And then it becomes imperative for us to know how the users are behaving on my channel, why are they dropping off, and what are the sort of interaction channels that I should look at. Now, I think that's where we start looking at. So there are multiple sort of channels, right? From a martech perspective, from an ad tech point of view, there is obviously the Googles of the world, and then there is the social channels of the world. Right? So how do we really channelize this better? And apart from that, there is this email, SMS, all of this. But you have to ensure that you're optimizing on the frequency as well, and your communication is seamless across the board. And that's where what we started doing is the first problem statement was what is the unified data that I have. Right? So we looked into the email and the phone number. I think this became a unique identifier. The second big problem was how do you really map the desktop data as well as the mobile ad data. Right? So, and in this world of, there's a lot of platforms which is a wall garden. Getting data from there itself is another second big challenge that we have. So at the end of it, all of this data challenge rests with the brand itself to solve. And that's I push back to a lot of other platforms as well. I think it rests with the brand itself to kind of solve this. It's a good challenge to solve as well. So we picked it up. So we started stitching this data. And what do we do with stitching this data? Is that Vakul, Anurita, I think, covered up most of the part, but almost 50% of the problem statement gets solved the moment you stitch this data. Now I kind of pass this on entire on channels as well. So when we did that, what it enabled us was, Obviously, we started pushing into across a lot of DMP partners. We created almost close to around 300, 400 segments of our data and started pushing across to DMP. And we started controlling our messaging, from that point of view. Along with that, we also started our communication to SMS and email partners. It became very seamless. When I say seamless, by using this segment, I knew what his interactions like, what sort of content is this person consuming, at least at the category level, what sort of messaging would he be inclined towards. We were also kind of layered one more bucket wherein if there is a phone number or user who is a DND user, do not send him a SMS as well. And so can we create multiple buckets? And this is a huge matrix in itself to solve. Right? And not many brands is able to kind of move in there. And that's something which I think that DMP is able to solve there at a much, much larger scale. And getting the entire channel into one unification bucket, I think that's something which is very commendable. Because I think one of the biggest problem statement again after that is from a consumer lens, he sees one message on Instagram probably, he sees another message on emailer, and the third message on display banner. There is just no synchronization over there. So how do you really make it synchronized as well? Which is where there has to be one tool who will channelize this entire communication, channelize basis the segments as well. So that became a critical piece for us. What it led to is our entire market spend started getting optimized. So we were able to reduce the spend and still leverage the amount of volume and conversations with my audiences. And well, from a revenue standpoint, we've not seen any delta. It's only kind of better. So I think net what we have kind of trying to achieve is how do we really optimize this and bring scale. So you have the first party data, you map it, you push it to a second party and the third party data. That gives me scale. From a unified messaging point of view, we've kind of working towards getting a complete automated tool wherein we push the segments as well. And next, I think this solves a larger problem for the organization. And hence, the most important word which any co-founders would want to hear is savings. Right? So, you are able to kind of give that savings back. And that's something a good win-win from a business point of view.
Thanks, Rahul. Yes, I mean, this is one of the biggest challenge that I've seen across marketers, and we all agree that ROI and scale, they don't go hand in hand together, And if you're the one who's been able to crack that equation, I think you've really kind of had it. So fantastic. Thank you so very much to kind of bring the perspective of not only looking at acquisition but reducing the cost and reducing the cost by virtue of delivering a consistent and relevant messaging and experience, which is what I think really predisposes the customers to your brand in the first place, and goes a long way. Thank you so much. So when we talk of scale and ROI, really can't think of anything better than Big Billion Day. And I have Shreyansh from Flipkart. I don't know, Shreyansh, if you're really able to get to your home during those days. I know you live very close to office, but we're very keen to hear from you how you see DMP and some of these pragmatic pieces supporting you deliver performance at a large scale.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you. Thank you for this. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in, and I'm really glad to be part of this panel. So I'd like to take a step back here because I see 65% of the audiences are not actually using DMP or a CDP. And do you guys sort of take a step back, maybe go back to your olden days where we used to have those telephone directories where we used to write all the landline numbers and it was very well organized, right? And whenever you wanted to call up anyone, you would just go back and you do an alphabet search and you could actually call, right? So go back, think of that phase and where you had all of this data available and it is very well organized and it is segmented as well, right? So how about having your customer data segmented in this kind of way? Whenever you want to reach out to a customer who is interested in buying a mobile phone, you can go out and reach out to this kind of customers. So the use cases are a lot. There are quite a lot of powerful use cases which each individual can bring in their organizations. Of course, there is cost benefit analysis which everyone has to do. However, this is not a small term game. It is a long term game. So you need to be when you sort of identify that you want to use a DMP or you want to invest in the technology itself, right? You need to actually not just invest in one technology, you need to invest in the entire stack. And that's when you need to identify, okay, are you willing and do you really even have that kind of time and energy? Go ahead and invest in this kind of stack. So decide that, go ahead and invest into it, and don't really expect ROI immediately, right? Because it is a long-term investment. It is not a short-term investment. It is not going to give you efficiency from the very next day, from the very next sale event which you. So it is a long-term bet which you need to take. You will be very efficient in organizing your data. You'll be very efficient in segmenting your data going forward. You would be able to do a lot of customization in terms of what kind of audiences you want to reach out to, and you would be able to create some kind of audience profile. So what a lot of marketeers are actually doing wrong, and I not say it is completely wrong, but yeah, we always sort of overemphasize on targeting, right? And if you are a large advertiser like Flipkart, in that case, we really need to emphasize more on negative targeting. Rather, I want to know that who are the people whom I should not be reaching out to with a message right now, right? If I'm running a mobile phone campaign where I'm asking a user to upgrade his mobile phone, has he bought the mobile phone in last 1 month? Should I even go and talk to that person, right? So it is very important to have a negative audience list as much as it is important to have a proper targeting. So that definitely is going to help you in negative targeting as well. If you are a smaller company, think of your money which is getting spent as of today, right? You're spending X amount of money month on month and you're not using a DMP. You're actually losing out on the entire audience which is not converting. You're actually losing out on entire audience which could have potentially been negated or potentially been have retargeted if you would have more in-depth insights. So this is not just a sword, but this is a double-edged sword where you can actually bring in more data. You can sharpen it, and then you can reach out to your audiences much faster and better.
Yes, definitely. Audience suppression is one of the very important use case where I've seen organizations saving as much as 20% of the media budget. But more than that, what it does is it actually tells a customer, the brand tells a customer that, hey, look, I know that you are a customer of so-and-so product from me. So I'm not going to kind of, disrespect you by showing you the same product again. So that's wonderful. That's great. And Shreyansh, I think you also gave another powerful tip for people to be successful in DMP. Don't look at it from a short-term perspective because while at Flipkart you can, because the amount of data, the scale of data and attributes that you have, probably other companies may not have. So yes, I think the DMP works best if you have a significant amount of first-party data, so that you can create more targeted segments and slice and dice them basis, their interest, their intent, their past purchases, the behavior. Shreyansh, one last question that I want to pick up because you work in a fairly large setup. If the DMP has to be really kind of purchased and deployed, or in your case, there are various teams that you would interact with, and they need to be aligned, to the common business objective. You want to talk about a little more on that, which teams would they be and what roles do they play? I hear you have a fairly large, even the analytics team is probably upwards of 40 people.
Yeah, so we do have a massive team because we spend a lot of time identifying a lot of data which we really sit on. So definitely see, marketing investments are sort of SIPs, right? You are investing that money month on month and it is going to give you return at the end of the day, right? So look at that perspective. And when you are investing, just get a buy-in from all the teams which essentially you think could be potential customers of this product, and also get a buy-in from the stakeholders whom you would need to sort of get an investment in terms of their tech bandwidth, right? Because it is not just DMP that you will have to sort of invest your money in. It is the full stack which you have to do. So one part which I think a lot of people confuse is that DMP can only help you off the platform, right? It can also help you on the platform. So you can bring in powerful use cases where you can use on-platform optimization, where you can use on-platform customization, which could be driven directly from a team. So get approvals from all the respective stakeholders who can benefit from this, and also get a buy-in from people who would actually be developing this stack for you. This would basically help you in maximizing the profitability from this investment of your stack upgrade, and also it will help you in a long-term usage as well.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shreyansh. And I think I get a message, clear message that, yeah, I mean, it's a long-term solution. You need to have a buy-in from various stakeholders, align them together. So to summarize some of the key points, if people are looking to buy a DMP or CDP, first they need to look at the use cases, what is more appropriate for them. Okay. Second, when you look at a DMP, look at which features and functionalities, because not all DMPs are created equal. Some DMPs just plug in with the DSP, okay. But like we said, the DMPs go much beyond. They go enterprise-wide in terms of connecting with all other your applications, whether CRM or marketing automation and other pieces. So look at those features and functionalities which are important, and then most important, as Shreyansh mentioned. We need to have a team. You need to have a team of various stakeholders who's going to support. Obviously, you can have a principal sponsor, but then you need to kind of work and align with various team members in your organization. With that, we will stop sharing our screens and take up some of your questions, audience. Thank you so very much, Vakul, Shreyansh, Anurita, and Rakesh, for being with us. Let's look up some of the questions that we're getting from the audience. This is a question for Rahul. Okay, how many days do you take while optimizing your paid campaigns? Should we always analyze the campaigns for at least 7 days?
Okay, so that depends on the stage of your campaign, at what stage and what communications are we pushing. So, for example, if there is an urgency to the campaign, if there is an offer in hand, you would not have a 7-day window to optimize the campaigns. You would probably want to have a smaller duration with less room for experimentation as well. If the phase of your campaign is you have a course launching in probably 45 days later, and you would want to kind of have the recall, you would keep a window of around 7 days to 10 days to keep that. So it purely depends on the stage and and the immediacy or the urgency of the communication that you're pushing across. So I'll not say there's an industry standard, but it's just best practice. You keep a window for 7 days if there is a 45-day campaign running, and see how the data is coming in.
Thank you, Rahul, and thank you, audience. I think we're completely done with our time. I will conclude a session stating that DMP or CDP, okay, you need to pick up one which is most relevant for you, and you better pick it up now, because it's really about the efficiency and scale. It's the same old puzzle of ROI at a scale, and some of these initial investments in your digital marketing transformation will really kind of pave the way for you to move your digital marketing to a place where it becomes a completely one-to-one marketing and more relevant and personalized experience for each users, because most of the time people don't buy your products, they buy the experience. They're loyal to the brands that you and I kind of make, and a lot of it depends on how we communicate, and how often do we communicate, how relevant do we communicate with them, and do we really kind of communicate with them? Do they see our ads as a solution rather than some sort of problems, or one-way messaging being bombarded? See, communication should really be more of a gratifying and problem solution, and that can only happen once you have a really good, stronger understanding of your audience and what's going on in their lives, so that you can really make a connect with them, and not only for a transaction but for a long-term basis. Thank you very much. Thanks, Vakul. Thanks, Shreyansh. Thanks, Anurita. Thanks, Rahul, and lovely audience.